Okay, Nikhil Naz and Chandresh, both of them my favorite cricket journalists, both of them cricket writers, broadcaster, presenters. Wonderful to have you here. Not the way I hope to have this conversation, guys, but hey,
Yeah,
Nikhil, you called it Nightmare on Halloween. What was
it
that like,
was.
dude?
It was, and it paid out to true Halloween traditions, trick and treat. So there was the Indian team was tricked, and it's New Zealand that enjoyed the treat. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this wasn't expected. I still thought that India would win after that Pakistan encounter. But yeah, this did come as a bolt from the blue, no pun intended. But yeah, I don't know
No,
what you guys know about.
Chandresh called it. No, Chandresh called it. He called a New Zealand victory the last time we spoke. Yeah, Chandresh.
Yeah, I think
I
I think that this Indian team is too one-dimensional. Like I kept saying, it's like going to a park and you have that swing that you have for the like balancing swing kind of a thing that you have in the park. You sit on one side, the other side goes up, and the other sit on the other side, the other side then comes up. The team is like that because you have too many one-dimensional players. You can't win T20 cricket with such a one-dimensional team. And if Virat Kohli doesn't open in this lineup, I am happy to be called an anti-national. He doesn't find a place in my T20 11 for India. So he does not fit into this T20 lineup. I'm extremely sorry to say that if he doesn't open the batting, because he plays what I call one-day cricket in T20 format, just like what Dhoni does when he plays for Chennai. This thing about हम लोग build करेंगे, is it okay to speak in Hindi?
Yeah, yeah, please,
हाँ,
absolutely. I think it's great.
या सो हम लोग बिल्ड करेंगे, हम लोग जाएंगे लास्ट तक, लेकिन ऑल दैट इज आर्केक way of thinking. Just a day before, 24 hours earlier, you saw how England played. That is modern T20 cricket. They don't give a chance to anybody. And the problem is that, I think I have no quibble with IPL. I work in the IPL. Nikhil works around the IPL, outside the IPL. Uh, the thing is that the biggest problem, in my view, is that a lot of premium is put on being the top run getter in the IPL. Being a top run getter in the IPL is not the issue. Only the top order will keep scoring runs always. The thing is that the whatever it is, the orange cap should be going to the player with the best strike rate. The mistake that they made in 2008 was to introduce it as a linear way of doing things, and I think from there things have gone haywire for India. Also, the IPL is also the problem in the sense not because it is happening. My point is till the IPL doesn't have a special category for players who are multi-purpose players from India, and you incentivize batsmen to bowl and bowlers to bat. Till then, that channel we had that we used to have, itna paisa mein itna each milega. That system will follow because the players are thinking, I'm in batsman category. I need to be in the batsman category. Extra करेंगे उसका पैसा नहीं है. Bowlers also thinking the same way, unless they are put under pressure at the last minute. You see, all the guys who are multi-purpose or multi-dimensional cricketers that we have are pre-IPL, as in Jadeja, Ashwin, and so on and so forth. Whoever has come in after that, it's been very rare. You only had, say, Krunal Pandya, but he can hardly find a place as a batsman or a bowler. Hardik Pandya, if he bowls, we celebrate it like it's Diwali. So till we don't have that category, the IPL teams spend lots of money on overseas all-rounders. But there's hardly an Indian all-rounder worth the salt. And also the batsmen, like Rohit has got hat-tricks in the IPL and he doesn't bowl, which is a mystery. And Virat, it's almost like an event if he starts bowling. Teams that have got multiple bowling options, have got depth, are the ones that are doing well. Teams that don't have are struggling, and India is prominent amongst them. And I think that's why we are struggling. Plus, I repeat it again, Virat has to open. If he doesn't open, I'm sorry to say, I don't see him playing T20 cricket after this World Cup for India. I'm extremely sorry to say.
We didn't have
At least
Virat.
I
Forget
wouldn't play him.
Virat. We didn't have Rohit opening yesterday. Nikhil, what do you have to say to what Chandresh said? How much do you agree or disagree?
So I'm going to disagree with a lot of things. So firstly, let's come to the approach. So who are the team that plays with that sort of approach that Chandresh talks about? The only exception is England and Afghanistan at the moment. Are England the most successful T20 team at the moment with that approach? No. What is the other approach that other teams adopt? That is, India is a far more successful T20 team than England is. I mean, forget what's happened in these, two matches. I think that just because of, losses in these two matches, let's not forget that India are the top ranked, T20 team in the world. And this approach has worked. I think what approaches England has changed is in the 50 over format, where you had that build up approach where India did for a very long time, where openers would consolidate and then you'd have the guys coming down and really chase that approach changed, and that was a drastic change that England did. I think in T20 nobody has that accumulation sort of an approach that you have. What India did yesterday was they bottled under pressure. I mean, clearly they were aiming for much more than, and I think toss played a vital role, and we heard from Virat in the pre-press conference where he said, if you're going to bat first, the only thing we can do is notch up such a big total that the team that's chasing is going to struggle. So the approach thing is only England that's doing it, and is it the most successful T20 team? I don't think so. I think where they really goofed up was the batting order. I don't think that I wouldn't give up on Virat Kohli, the T20 player. No matter what is approached on various occasions in the IPL, he's got hundreds. I think he's got 500s if I'm not mistaken in the IPL, and you cannot get 100 in a T20 game if you were one-dimensional. So I mean, I can't think of a single international T20 team, whoever ends up winning the tournament, even if it's Pakistan, that will not have Virat in the playing 11. I would have him in my playing 11. It's just what happens around him. Where they goofed up yesterday was Rohit not opening. If Rohit's not going to open, then you can't have him in the middle order. He can't run between the wickets, and it all changes. So that panic set in, and that's what really surprised me. Where before the game they kept talking that we're not going to listen to anything on the outside. Outside noise is rubbish. We pay no attention to it, and they did exactly the contrary to that. Heard everything that was happening in the outside because there were discussions. Oh, Trent Bowl, the left arm pacer, is going to get Rohit Sharma. So just to safeguard him, they push him to 3, and by which time Virat goes to number 4, and then hell breaks loose. So I think they panicked, and that's also a rarity with this Indian team. And I'm talking about this Indian team. Often we've said that compared to all other Indian teams in the past, this has been one team that's bounced back. Let alone test matches in Australia and England. But even if you take a look at their ODI series or T20I series in the last 3-4 years, they've been 2-0 down, but have bounced back. Agree that the pressure in an ICC tournament is far greater than a bilateral series, but this team has shown what they showed for the very first time based on their body language, that they bottled. They just were overcooked for this particular encounter when they came out. And that was very rare for me to see. If I had to pinpoint a reason, I will talk of external factors that may have played a role here. I'll tell you all of this, no matter how much, of a united front they put in front of the media, whatever. This whole captaincy talk, Virat is not going to go. We know in the selection, there were multiple people chipping in what should be the selection, who should come in, who should not come in. Also, I'm going to put Virat at fault. He's been one of the most fickle captain that we've had, in the sense that he doesn't go in with one team. He keeps changing. We've seen it in the 50 over format. And it only made matters worse when you had this doubts over the captaincy, another captain coming in. He's also being part of that, what the selection should be like. Selectors had multiple inputs. So you went in with a team that, so you may not like Virat Kohli's selection, but at least go with what he may like. But now that you have multiple heads sitting together deciding a team, anyway you have a captain who remains confused, as we've seen in the past. All of it put together, I think it was a recipe for disaster. So which is why I'm putting it for external reasons. There's going to be a major fallout after this. And as Virat has said that, this is going to be his last T20 assignment as a captain. I just hope that they have stability on that front going forward. No matter what your philosophy is, whatever philosophy you go, it has to be one philosophy, not multiple minds coming in with their thought processes. That's what I think is ruining it.
Nikhil, I'm going to ask you this because I asked Chandresh this earlier. Should Kohli have quit as the T20 captain even before the World Cup? I mean, he wasn't really, as they say, na jhanda gaad raha tha as a captain.
No, I think quitting is the wrong word. You should have removed him as captain. See, a fair point. You're not happy with his captaincy, get rid of him. And this whole thing of him announcing before the tournament that I will quit after the T20, I think, it's not it's not up to him. And as we know now that it wasn't just, I mean, of course, the noises that are being made is that, oh, he wants to concentrate on all other formats, and that he was tired and he wants to take that burden off his shoulders and concentrate on his batting, and that's why he decided. It wasn't a voluntary decision. It was something that had been brewing for some time now. There were discussions within the BCCI. They were looking for an alternate captain. You got to hear of these things even when India were in Australia. So if that is the way that you were going, BCCI there should have just stepped in and said, listen, the time is done. We have a World Cup to look forward to. It's an important tournament for us. We are the host. So here is a new captain, whoever that might have been, and you should have announced it and gone with it. But to I think put pressure on him, and this is when he decided. All of this, of course, it played a part of him deciding before that he's not going to be a T20 captain, which is why I go and say that it was a recipe for disaster, because from the time they were selecting the team, they had it in their mind that we're going to have another captain, and let's get more contributions and let's decide a team. And I think that is what has led to all of this.
And of course, Chandresh, as Nikhil said, there were too many people, too many cooks, or trying to put in that recipe. Not a wonderful debut for Mahendra Singh Dhoni as a mentor either. I mean, that was complicated to begin with, right?
I think it was really an unnecessary pick. I think it was a band-aid for a major problem within the team. You can't have band-aid solutions for such things. And I think you have Ravi Shastri, Bharat Arun, Vikram Rathore, Sridhar as the fielding coach. You have Mahendra Singh Dhoni. You have the current T20 captain. You have the future T20 captain. There are too many people going around. And there was, the thing with Indian cricket is that, everything is last minute. Now, 17th, we have the next series against New Zealand starting. Today is 1st. There is no sign of when the interviews will happen which is going to be a sham, because we all know it's going to be Rahul Dravid. But when the interviews will happen, when will he be appointed, when will he take charge, does he have enough time to start? These things should have happened before the IPL in September, after the England series. They could have started the process then. But no, we like to wait till the last minute. We like to delay the whole thing. For all you, me and Nikhil know, they've already started the process. Rahul is already applying the mind. But on the face of it, you are delaying the whole process. You are taking everything to the last minute. And we still don't know officially that Ravi Shastri is quitting. We only know through reports. He hasn't come out and said that I am quitting. The same thing happened with Duncan Fletcher. He never came out and said I'm going. They never said that they are giving him an extension. So the same thing is happening here. And I think that this tendency of us as Indians to keep everything till the last has come back to bite us. And Nikhil is right. The whole thing has been handled very poorly. Look at the way that Kohli resignation was handled. Couple of days before that, there was a story in a newspaper, and they denied it outrightly on record, saying that it's rubbish. And 2 days later, he puts out a statement on Twitter and Instagram saying, I'm retiring. And that should have been coming from the BCCI, not from Virat Kohli. But if you had a professional board, then probably you could have understood all these things. If you keep running the sport like this, then you'll always have these problems. I always keep saying, if the Team India off the field is as professional as, say, Virat Kohli is in terms of creating a fitness culture, you have to hand it to him. He's created a fitness culture, fast bowling culture, and so on and so forth. We will be unbeatable across formats, across genders, across age groups. But that does not happen because the Team India off the field is still stuck in a time warp, and we are still stuck in an amateur basis in running the sport. Till that doesn't get in shape, this will always keep happening for you.
Yeah.
And there'll be no inquisition or there'll be no inquiry. Ireland, of all the teams, because they didn't make it to the second round, are going to have a proper inquiry into where they went wrong. Here, we'll only have motivated plans in newspapers. So-and-so said this, so-and-so said that, so-and-so said that, and that's it. I'm not saying you hang people for what they are doing. I'm just saying there should be like a proper, thorough investigation as to what has happened, how it happened. Why is India not winning a ICC event since 8 years?
And just one bit, Joseph. And the inquiry, when it happens, it will be conducted by those people that should actually be investigated in that inquiry. I'd say that. Why? Because now all the blame is going to come on the team. I mean, let's be honest. Barring minor change here or there. You could have argued that UCL should have been here, but that's minor. Okay, you'd have to say, if you look at all teams around the world, this is one of the strongest team on paper, right? I mean, you've got a great lineup. I'd be happy to be, in charge of a team like this as a manager, because I'd be confident that just look at the team that I have. So there's nothing wrong with the team. Now you got to look at how this build-up was done. Jasprit Bumrah, and as difficult as it is for any Indian player to come out and say anything against the BCCI, he still gave you a slight indication saying that, listen, bio-bubble fatigue is real. Yes, and then he had to have a rider with it saying, oh no, BCCI really looked after us. But he then passed on the message that he had to. You make them play the IPL. They were there. They've been away from their families for so long. And then you're playing a big tournament as the T20 World Cup. Immediately after that, you lose the first game, and then the scheduling is such that you have to wait for that 1 week to play that next game. I mean, it can't be easy. I have to empathize with the players. They're under tremendous pressure, and that's why I said, for the first time, forget about performances on the field, right? You win, you lose, it's okay. For the first time, I saw a timid approach by the Indian players. That doesn't happen with this team. They've been in, they were 36 all out in a test match. Yet you could see them the next match, they came out all fighting, all guns blazing. So one thing that wasn't lacking was the confidence, or their resilience to fight back. That was the first time that I saw it being missed. Was it because of that break, all the criticism that came their way, the scheduling, the bio-bubble fatigue? All of that is real, and this is where you have to put administration in charge. And I think another major distraction was that IPL team auction that you had. So the headlines were grabbed by the BCCI. Oh, listen, we've sold it for 7,500 crore. Team is sold, this and that. So if we're concentrating on all of that, what happens to the real cricket, or what the team is doing? I don't think enough attention was given that.
And that happened just a day after India lost to Pakistan. Where are the optics? The optics are really off. And then there were news reports and motivated plans that the retention will be in the following way. Hardik Pandya may not be retained by Mumbai. The players may already be aware of the surround sound. But to put all that out, the optics are absolutely off. I'll give you another example, Jyotsna. As a team, this particular team has not played T20 international. I think I mentioned last time as well, since March, when they played England. The team that played Sri Lanka in a T20 series, only few players from that team are here in this T20 World Cup team. So as a team, they spent 4 weeks of their time. Nobody paid any attention to it. 4 weeks they spent in UK holidaying. So the flip side to the argument about the bio bubble and all, after the World Test Championship final, they had a month off in England because they couldn't come back because of COVID and so on and so forth. Who is planning these things?
And we had the book release and the COVID.
That happened towards the latter half of the England series, but right after the World Test Championship final, they had a month's break. And imagine, then they had everything back to back. That particular break, who planned it? Was any thought applied to it? Did anybody think through it? That you've got to play a World Test Championship final. What are we going to do in that 4 weeks? They spent 4 weeks whiling away their time going and watching Euro. Players got COVID, so on and so forth, Wimbledon and so on and so forth. They were doing that. So this bio bubble fatigue, if you flip it around, this also happened, and this year only. And their families were with them in UK. And they had complete outside access. They could go anywhere that they wanted for 4 weeks. So this particular, other teams have been playing consistently as a team in this particular format. India, give or take 1 or 2 players, has not been playing consistently as a team in this format. Rohit and Virat, before this T20 World Cup, before the Pakistan match, last time they played T20 international was in February, March against England.
But so, with that, see again, I agree with what Chandresh is saying. They should have played together. But I'm saying they were still not rusty in the sense they were still playing the IPL, right? So that was there. I mean, Pakistan didn't get a chance to play those 2 series as well. But look how well they're doing. In fact, I was hearing from the Australian camp, they haven't played. Like Aaron Finch and Warner, it's been over a year since they opened together. They haven't played together. So I think most people, because of this whole COVID situation, weren't spending too much time as a team. But I think the Indian team can't even have that argument because they were playing the IPL, right? Okay, maybe not together in separate teams, but you were playing that same format in those same conditions.
Absolutely. So, you guys have mentioned what I was going to actually ask either or both of you, is the fact that, the crazy calendar, the crazy cricket calendar, the blame. I mean, understandably, there are now a lot of fingers that are going to be pointed at the IPL and the schedule, and the fact that, the money concerns just ahead of the second leg of IPL before the World Cup, all of that. And yet, we're not really going to see any kind of accountability of all this, are we?
No, we won't. It will all happen by default. Ravi Shastri will go. Virat will quit as T20 captain. The entire team management will change. Will win against New Zealand in a bilateral match in India in a T20 international, because again they will try out a second string squad. New Zealand will also play second string players in India, and we'll be back at the best. So nothing will happen. Again, it boils down to the fact that you don't have a professional setup in the BCCI. If you had a professional setup, there would be time-bound inquiry, time-bound inquisition into what actually happened. We're not asking anybody to be hanged to death or something of that sort. We're just saying, why does it happen? There has to be a reason that India is not able to win an ICC tournaments in 2013. I can think of one reason. Is because last time they won, I was with the ICC and I was there at the ground when they won. So maybe that's a particular reason that I go back to the ICC. Maybe then they win the ICC event. But that's not going to happen. So they need to find a particular reason for why that has happened and why it's happening. Otherwise, you're staring at this happening next year as well, and the year after that, at the Grand Stadium in Ahmedabad, when maybe we may have certain preeminent individuals coming and launching their campaigns at that final in the 50-over World Cup.
Headline management all around.
Absolutely.
I'm
absolutely.
going to take some of those questions. But before that, Nikhil, do you agree that, the fact that when some people argue that the IPL is not really helping us, that it is just what it should, it is what you see it is. Just
no, I mean, no, I won't be critical. No, I won't be critical of the IPL. It is definitely helping you. It's helping you unearth new talent. And I mean, there's no harm. I mean, sometimes, we go after, oh, why so much money? Why are they being paid so much money? But, all of us desire more money. Yeah? We all work hard to earn more. So what's wrong in a sport getting professionalized that way? Other sports have, the NBA in the US or the Major League Baseball in the US and European football and all of that. So of course, cricket should too. What the good thing about the IPL is I just spoke to an under-19 level player the other day and I had no idea. And he's playing under-19 cricket, state cricket, right? He just played a tournament just now they had between the states. And now, can you believe it? Under-19 cricketers travel by flight to destinations. Gone are the days when Ranji Trophy cricketers would go in, senior pros would go in trains. Now, under-19 state cricketers are traveling by flight. They stayed in 5-star hotels. A room to each player, no more sharing, a room to each player. They get 20,000 rupees per day as match fee. So these are fantastic things. It's all been made because of those television rights for IPL. So the good things about the IPL. The only thing they can look when they're considering the IPL and international cricket is the placing of the matches, like how you schedule the matches. When the IPL happens, there's enough of a gap after the IPL for the team to regroup, have a camp. Those days where you used to have Indian team have a camp, and I'm sure that helped a lot because you could strategize, you could plan, you could have match simulations, do various other things. And so that gap needs to be there. You can't just have, okay, we have to do the IPL, the second half is remaining, let's do it, let's fix it exactly at the same place where the T20 World Cup will happen. The scheduling is an issue. The focus on IPL more than international cricket is an issue, but IPL on the whole is not an issue. I think it's done great for Indian cricket.
Okay, so I'm going to take some of the questions before we run out of time. Both of you, who do you think the next captain should be? That's a question that keeps coming.
Next captain, I know who it's going to be. I mean, everyone knows that the talks that Rohit Sharma, and let's remember that it'll be a white ball captain. I don't know whether it's only going to be T20 or for all you know, they might select a white ball captain. But then I wonder, but if you're going to, I mean, nothing against Rohit Sharma. I think he's a fantastic player and will make for a great captain. But it's also going to be a stopgap arrangement. How long do you see Rohit Sharma playing? Is he going to play that 2023 50-over World Cup? He may play the next T20 World Cup. So is that the thought process? Or you want, okay, let's have a stopgap for now. Let Rohit captain in white ball cricket because he is a fantastic captain, and then groom someone to take over after that. I don't know whether that's the way to go about it, or just for now look at a young captain. I don't know. It's a small sample size of KL Rahul in the IPL, but you'll have to look at someone who's a definite there in the team, and two names that I can think of, or three probably that I can think of, are Jasprit Bumrah, Rishabh Pant, and K. Rahul, who may be playing across all formats. And if you're going to look at some of them, bowlers, they tend not to make captain, though I don't agree with it. I think Jasprit might make for a great captain. He's quite a thinking sort of a cricketer. Rishabh Pant, the batsman, you could still have a few questions about, though he's done fantastically in Test cricket. But he as a captain, showed glimpses that he's a thinking captain. He likes to take risks. Whatever little I saw of him in the IPL for Delhi Capitals, not a bad option. I don't know, you could look at. So either you go with a young guy, or you go with a Rohit Sharma now and then groom another young captain during that time.
Chandresh, my sense is Rohit Sharma. I mean, I would also vouch for the fact that I think it's time to look for a younger person to groom. But
yeah, I would. If Dilip Vengsarkar was the chairman of selectors, he would have gone for a younger man and given him a longer run. Because remember, it was Dilip Vengsarkar who picked Mahendra Singh Dhoni as the captain for the T20 side in 2007. I would sense that you give a younger man the role of the T20 team and ask him to radically change the way India plays T20 cricket and give him the target of next year's T20 World Cup. India is playing multiple T20 series until the T20 World Cup next year, and including the Asia Cup if it happens, when it happens. So I think if that would be the right way to go, but I don't see Chetan Sharma and company taking such a radical call, and it will all depend on what orders come from the upstairs. So it will be Rohit Sharma. It is the safe decision to do, safe thing to do. Appoint Rohit Sharma and carry on with it. And he's successful IPL captain and so on and so forth. So, and I think that I think at some level, I would say that there is a time now for India to separate the 50-over team or the 50-over captaincy from the 20-over captaincy, and let the 20-over team go on a separate path. It sounds radical, but BCCI has the money to have at least a separate players, even if there may be some players who play all three formats. You pick players specifically for that format, just like they did with Varun Chakravarti. It has not paid off, but it's an example. Natarajan was an example. He was picked purely on the basis of his IPL performances in the T20 side. You need to start doing that because you are the best league in the world. If you don't pick the players who do well in the IPL for a T20 World Cup, where else are you going to test the players in a T20 format? It's the closest that you can think of when it comes to an international competition.
no, but really, I honestly think sometimes there's a lot of value to just plucking a person and putting him in the hot seat. Reminds me of the Graham Smith kind of days. It kind of pays off, right? I mean, sometimes.
Yeah, I'll give you a classic example. Umran Malik, I'm not saying that he should play for India right away. If he was in Pakistan, he would have been playing in this T20 World Cup. If they had seen his pace in a PSL or in a tournament preceding the T20 World Cup, they would have picked him right away in the T20 World Cup side. But we are a much more much more like a safety first approach. We still have to shed our socialist baggage. So we'll take some time to get there. I'm not saying we should follow that. I'm just giving an example.
No, but I'm saying it is funny what few results can do, because just some time ago I hear from the Pakistan side saying they love this socialist approach of the Indian team. They keep complaining, hey listen, we keep changing our captain so often. Look at them, they're stuck with MS Dhoni. They don't panic. And that's the way we should play our cricket. And here we're talking, because of course Pakistan doing well, and I kept hearing Pakistan during that lull phase that they had, and India did well. All their experts, everyone would keep talking, look at India and learn from them. They don't criticize their players so often. They stick with their player. They don't just draft anyone, randomly pick them up and play them, because they believe in a process. Look at their domestic cricket, our domestic cricket. So again, it's nothing succeeds like success. So right now,
you should just see the Pakistan. You should see the Pakistani networks now. They are having a field day.
I'm watching them.
They're having a field day, and
I'm watching.
And the only reason why
Pakistan out for the final, guys. What is it?
I think Pakistan looks like a strong, looks like a strong contender right now.
I agree.
And Pakistan versus
and England.
England.
I think
Right.
England. Yeah.
Okay, we're unanimous on this one, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's going to be no
No,
debate on this one,
I
I
was
think.
listening to Mohammad Shehzad the other day, and he before the tournament started predicted Pakistan Afghanistan final. You never know, right? Afghanistan could still make the semi-finals. They're a dangerous team.
Yes, that is true, but I don't know. I mean, I know you just said nothing succeeds like success, but I mean, it's not like Kohli needed to tell us the body language is down. We could all just pretty much see what it was. It
Yeah.
was, what do we need to do to bounce back, though? I mean, for next year.
For now, bounce back for now, or you're
No,
saying for
now,
next year?
for next year.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe make a few changes. The first thing we know that the captain's going to change, right? So
Yeah.
with once the captain changes, the philosophy changes. All I would like is whoever your captain is, whether you go for a young guy or stick with a Rohit Sharma, just give him free reins in terms of let him go with his philosophy of how T20 cricket should be played, right? And in cricket, because a captain runs the team, so go with that. Get in a few um, uh, younger players, and there are some very exciting young players. In fact, the irony, Jyotsna, is I was just thinking I'll make my IPL Dream 11 of the Indian players. And if I was to make that Dream 11, I think from the current team, maybe just 3 or 4 players, or barely 3 players would sneak into that 11 if I had to make an IPL Dream 11 of 2021 season. So what that tells you that there are a lot of young talent. But I also agree with the fact that, listen, one IPL, you can't. So, for example, Harshal Patel had a great IPL. Now, would I bring him ahead of a Mohammad Shami? Maybe not, right? Because again, I'm just looking at the kind of performances a bowler has given me for the past few years. I know Rituraj Gaikwad had a great time in the ever. Would I bring him over a Rohit Sharma? No, I wouldn't, right? So at this moment, also, I don't blame anybody. Just taking decisions based on the IPL. I'd rather stick to conventional players or the ones who have consistently been doing well. So on that front, India's got good players. But yeah, I think now that you'll have time going forward, maybe a few young players could be tried. And there are a few young good players, as I mentioned, Ruturaj Gaikwad, Venkatesh Iyer, some of those who attracted your attention. How Yuzi Chahal is not part of this team, completely beats me. The best T20 bowler that India has is not part of the Indian team, and that's been shocking. But it's actually been the batting that's not really done well. So yeah, those are
Yeah,
certain
but
things.
with the selection, I mean, with the captain changing, the selection is also going to change,
Change, yeah.
that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Chandresh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Nikhil said, this next series is again between India and New Zealand, and then we have lots of back-to-back T20 series in the upcoming season. Uh, just use these bilateral series not as a means of building up records and saying that at the end of the day we won 10 series on the trot and 5 series on the trot, and come the T20 World Cup you flop on the very first day that you need to perform. So try and use these particular series as a platform to try and look at some players, look at some options. Harshal Patel for one. Now the thing is that this is where the thinking comes in. Tymal Mills has been brought back by England specifically for this T20 World Cup, and he's only playing T20 cricket. He's been brought back after 4 years by England. Uh, we did that with Ashwin, but that was more a majburi than out of real some insight into trying to bring him back. Because we have Washington Sundar injured, but he's celebrating Halloween on Instagram and so on and so forth. So I think that at some level, Mohammad Shami the economy rate is 9.92. That's nearly 10. Is he really your best T20 bowler? Bhuvneshwar Kumar visibly is struggling to reach the crease while bowling. Is he really your best bowler right now in this format? When you've got, say, Avesh Khan, Harshal Patel, who are doing well. I'm not saying they will immediately strike gold, but maybe I think that they made a mistake by not rewarding form. Plus, I think the captain and the team management have clearly shown they don't believe in Rahul Chahar. So they are not even considering him for the matches. So they have sent out a strong message. And usually Indian captains do that. If they don't like a player, and Mahendra Singh Dhoni himself did that when he himself bowled in the 2009 Champions Trophy ahead of an all-rounder like Abhishek Nair, just to send out a message to Shrikant and company that I don't like this all-rounder that you have chosen. I would much rather prefer that I bowl myself. And he also got a wicket. So I'm just saying that, this sort of background noise has sort of eaten up India's chances in this T20 World Cup. Unnecessary background noise, motivated plans. It may have been true that players went and complained to the BCCI about Virat's style of captaincy and so forth. This kind of surround sound has not helped matters at all. And players are looking over their shoulder, and the players are also very smart. They know which side of the bread to butter. They have seen Mahendra Singh Dhoni entering the dressing room. They know which person to look after, which person to talk to. So I think that at some level the whole tournament has been hijacked by surround sound, by faulty planning, poor selection, and too many people in the dressing room. We have the money, but that doesn't mean we need to be splurging it this way.
Absolutely.
Anyways,
Fantastic.
Mahendra Singh Dhoni is doing it for free because we are a socialist country. That's what the president of BCCI said on record.
And he's got no role really. He's just there to thup the powder backs. Nikhil, you want to end this conversation?
I ended with I don't know. One thing that again in support of the Indian team was also the toss factor. I have to mention that because India are unlucky in both occasions, right? Not having won the toss. Had India been chasing in that game against New Zealand, you would have seen a different batting performance. No excuse for being folded up for 110. But I'm saying I think that was the problem, that they were thinking too far ahead or for a very big total. And I think that Pakistan game that happened really put paid to their plans, and then they started thinking that far ahead. The scheduling, and that's one thing that I really wanted to talk about. That was disastrous. Whoever planned it, and India are the host, but I think ICC still scheduled the matches. So I'm guessing the simple logic was India's two biggest game in the group were India and Pakistan, India and New Zealand. So they only play on a Sunday. And because India lost, can you imagine the 7 days leading up to what must have happened? And Virat mentioned that in the press conference that, hey, I don't know about the scheduling. We've been just sitting here doing nothing after that game. So firstly, you've lost it and you really want to make amends by going onto the field, but you can't. You got to wait for another week, and all you end up doing is reading comments on social media, no matter how much you try to isolate yourself, but it still happens. And comments, whether it's in newspapers, former cricketers writing, all of that obviously clearly didn't help. And so the commercial aspect of having India play on a Sunday, that penny-wise, pound-foolish, it's turned out to be, because now India is not part of the tournament. So there you go, the semi-final or the final you may have envisioned with India around and making billions of dollars for the host, that ain't going to happen.
Yeah, it's that surround system that Chandresh, you want to add something?
Yeah, Josna, did you ask me that?
Yeah, you wanted to add something.
I just wanted to add something. So Nikhil raised the point about who made the schedule. It's somebody that all three of us know very well.
I know now. No, but you could give us a larger picture. That's the ICC or the BCCI's prerogative to make it as host?
It's both involved, but somebody the three of us know very well has played a major part in this goof up of this week-long gap.
Clearly, we're having more conversations once we're done with this session.
No, just imagine that, like even if you didn't know who the two teams are going to be, you had Scotland, Namibia playing prime time match, whereas England was playing. We knew England is going to play, and they were playing a day match.
Yeah,
somebody daft had to do that when England's prime time is coinciding with India's prime time.
That's the other thing that kind of took away a lot of the excitement, didn't it? I mean, when you think of a Scotland playing Pakistan or a Namibia playing Pakistan, and I mean, I know that you have to encourage other teams, and that I mean, it's just like a 12 team or whatever, but there's got to be other ways of exploring and spreading this game.
Yeah, I mean, if you would ask me, and I know I'll be hated for this, and a lot of people who would like to see a lot of associates play, but I agree that it takes away from that high intensity sort of a tournament that you want to see. And barring one upset or two, we've rarely seen something as drastic as an associate team or minnows going on to win a tournament. It happens in football quite often. Let's say 50-1 odds, and that team goes on to win the tournament, but not so much in cricket. So maybe this qualifier format was good, where you had them in the qualifier and then the best teams came through. May have been, it could have been just one team instead of two that came through from the first round, and then that would have ensured that better teams come. But even then Bangladesh would have missed out, and you would have still had an associate country come in because they finished second in the group. But that I mean, you have to make do with, right? Whoever plays well on that particular day comes through. So I'm not a big fan of that. So which is why I love the 2015. Beg your pardon, the 2019 format. You know, the way they played of. All the top teams playing each other from the 1992 World Cup sort of a format is what I think is the ideal way to go about it.
Chandresh, there's a question for you. Round robin better format than this?
It could be, but Star Sports will not like it. So ultimately, it's what the broadcaster wants. You know, I understand, having worked at the ICC, they are trying to do the right thing. It's their job to grow the game. They want to do it the right way. They will never be able to strike the right balance, and it's always going to be a pet peeve. The associates feel that they are being hard done by because of the 50-over format. The next T20 World Cup after the one in Australia is going to be the one in 2025. It's going to be a 20-team event, so that's going to be massive, and it won't be like the first round, second round. So maybe we won't have Star by then. We may be watching it on a mobile platform.
Instagram.
Who knows what technology comes by then? And monies may not be.
Yeah. No, but we didn't. The one thing quickly, Nikhil, we didn't speak about is Hardik Pandya, the big conundrum.
Yeah. So I mean, my take on that is that if I was captain, I would play Hardik Pandya. I'll tell you why. Because who is that one big hitter that you have in the team, right? I'd have to play someone there. The extra batsman that you had was Ishan Kishan, who's again a top order batsman. Can he bat at number 6 for me? No. I needed someone there at number 6. I would have played him. If he could give me those 2 overs, great. Even if he didn't give me those 2 overs, I would have still played him, because that's the role that I have no other option to go to. And I need to, have someone play that role for me in the team. So I would still play him. Multiple bowling options. I kind of agree with Virat where he said that, listen, multiple bowling options make sense where, you're going for a plenty and then I get someone else to bowl as the 6th bowler. But both games that India has played, they've been defending such a low total. And who's your best chance to get you a wicket on that day? Your top 5 bowlers, right? So as a captain, you'd go to any one of them to give you those wickets. And so he went with those bowlers. And I mean, there are, like, Australia's played with multiple bowling options the other day. They had 7 bowling options. They got hammered by England, right? Didn't work out either way. So there's no guarantee that you're playing 7 or 8 bowling options that you'll survive. You'll get hammered. You'll get hammered. On the other hand, you've got Afghanistan defending a low total, just bowl their 5 bowlers and almost choke Pakistan. So if you got 5 good bowlers, I'd still go with it. Maybe an additional bowler as an all-rounder chips in. That's fine.
Guys, I just need to dip out because I've got something else
Yes, I was
coming
going
up.
to end this because we've got 20 minutes over and this conversation could have carried on. But thank you, Chandresh and Nikhil, so much for joining.
Lovely talking.
And,
Thank you. Great talking to you.
Hopefully go for the Afghanistan match because my daughter still wants to see Virat
Please.
Kohli.
Please go. Please
So
go. Please
so
go.
we'll be in touch. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.